Hey, welcome good folks of YouTube and Facebook. Now, I thought this was going to be a smooth intro, but I messed up a little bit. Now, before I get started, let me just make sure that everybody on Facebook, because I'm simul broadcasting, can hear me. So let me just see something real quick. Okay. So you see the title of this stream. And the title of the stream is basically there's a teacher in Baltimore by the name of Dustin Renner. He snitched to ICE, or tried to snitch to ICE, but he got reprimanded for it. Snitched to ICE about illegal immigrants that he thought that was in his school, in his class. Okay. So let me start off by saying this. I don't know what episode it was that we did here on the Gamer Show where I predicted that Trump, or the Grand Wizard as I call him, is going to try to run for a third term. And I guarantee you he's going to be successful at this. He's going to try to delete the Constitution, which I think he's going to be successful in it. And he's also bringing back slavery. And we'll get more into that on another stream on another day, but I want to stay focused. And for this stream, I know I'm, boisterous and a little bit loud. And the way I come off, it may offend some people. Now, I'm not apologizing for none of that, because I'm not sorry for how it comes off or how I say it. What I can say is that I'm going to try to keep it in a way where y'all can not only hear what I'm saying, because I speak loud enough for you to hear what I'm saying, but I'm going to try to keep it so you can not only hear what I'm saying, but you can also listen to what's been said. All right. So let's start off with this. And this story I got from all for watching YouTube videos, and I did my little some research on it. And there's a teacher in Baltimore, Maryland by the name of Dustin Renner, and I got his picture up there so y'all can see him. He's a teacher in Baltimore, Maryland public school. He went on his Twitter page and tried to reach out to ICE to tell them about immigrants, illegal immigrants in his school. Now, I feel very offended by this. Because I'm telling y'all, school for kids back in my day, right? When I was growing up, school was more of a haven for some kids, right? Whether they're going through stuff in their home or whether they're going through stuff in their neighborhood. See, as a kid, I was bullied a lot. But I stopped that. I stopped that in its tracks, right? It took me years, but I stopped it. So when you're getting bullied in your neighborhood and you having stuff going on in your home and you go to school as a kid, that is like one of your safest havens, right? While you're sitting in those classes, I also got bullied in class as well. But while you're sitting in those classes or you're in that school environment, you feel more safe than you do when you go home or when you go to your neighborhoods. And these parents send their kids off to school to get an education, and they entrust the teachers to take care of their kids. When you have a teacher that does something this despicable, as in calling a government agency trying to dry snitch on kids that's trying to get an education, is, in my book, despicable. And I'm going to keep his face up here so y'all can see him. In Baltimore, Maryland. David Renner. It is a shame that you can't send your kids to school without a teacher that you put your trust in to do something like this. Now, there are more stuff that's going on in these public schools, like sexual assaults and other things. The high school kids and the middle school kids of today don't look nothing like they did back when I was going to Largo. These kids that's going to school today, and that's a different subject, look like they're like, it looks like a nightclub when you go to some of these schools with the eyelashes and the hair and all this other stuff. But that's another topic. But what I'm saying is that you entrust your child with a educator, and for this educator to do some despicable stuff like this, you have to watch out who you let help you raise your kids, because essentially the teachers in your schools are helping to raise your kids as well as you, because during the school year you're not with your kids 24/7. If you are working, you entrust that they're going to be a limb from you, right? And I say that in a context where you trust that they're going to treat your kids better or the same as you, right? With this dry snitching to ICE on these kids that they think that are illegal. First of all, face facts. Everyone in the earshot of listening to this program, you are a immigrant. You are an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. You know why we're immigrants? Because history tells us, which they're trying to delete, is that we don't come from this country. If you trace your roots, black people are going to have a hard time doing that, because, as I said before, so many potholes in African American history, with, us being, our ancestors being killed and all this other stuff. It's hard to trace your ancestry back to where you originated from, where your ancestors originated from. I don't care if you were born in Baltimore, Maryland. I don't care if you was born at Greater Southeast. I don't care, none of that. Where is your origin at? And it's hard for a black person to find that, right? But we are all immigrants. Native Americans are the ones that really belong, that owns this land. Because I don't know anybody that could walk into somebody's house and say, yeah, I found this, so all of this stuff is mine. Because if that was the case, then I would have probably walked into every GameStop and said, hey, this PlayStation 5 is mine. I wouldn't have to pay for mine. I would have walked in there and said, hey, I found this PlayStation. Oh, it's mine. I found these games. Oh, yeah, it's mine. And like, hold up, I was working in here before you even came here. This stuff got shipped in here. This don't belong to you. But I said I found it. So it's mine. That's the same concept that the history books are telling you about a man who sailed out on a boat and found a land that was already inhabited with people. And, they tried to their best to kill off the Native Americans and just move them out. And Trump is even talking about deporting Native Americans. Where are you going to fly them? You going to put them in a plane, circle the globe, and then come back and then drop them off in the Nevada desert by the casinos? Come on, man. But this teacher, it is despicable. It is despicable. And sorry I don't stay on track for most of my streams because I don't have nothing written down. I just go off the cuff. So this guy, his picture is up. It's despicable. The school board has suspended him. I don't know if they plan on coming back. There's a link below in the description of this. And you can go get the full story. They'll probably tell it better than I, right? Because I'm getting it from a reliable source. And I did my due diligence and I did that. But maybe they can explain it better than I. But the links are in the description below. So what would possess a person to do this? Full-fledged out racist. Somebody that think that they're entitled to this land. I don't care who you voted for. It really doesn't matter to me because I think all politicians are liars. I think that the government does not support, no matter what they say, I don't think the government support African-American people. The government is basically supportive of the wealthy, rich and wealthy, because nothing comes good when it comes to my tax bracket. Nothing comes good with that, right? So I'm not going to say I think or I allege, but I know this. I'm 50 years old in a couple of months. So I think through the government is just not for African American people. They're more for other nationalities than they are for black people. But again, that is in another discussion for another time. With this teacher, he feels that he can do this because the guy that's in charge of America, he can get away with anything. And you figure that, you just have this born right. You have this privilege. You have this white privilege to think that like you can just do anything that you want and there's no consequences. This guy, Dustin Renner, must be called out. Dustin Renner of Baltimore, Maryland, an educator. He should have his license to teach stripped. He should not be able to come nowhere near kids. How would you feel if a narcissistic African American became president? And I know y'all, some of you Trump supporters are going to be saying, well, y'all did have one, Barack Obama. What if a deranged black guy got into the White House and he said that, hey, look, we're going to deport everybody. We're going to deport everyone because they're not native to this country. And you just start putting people in planes and you start putting kids in planes and stuff like this. The government and people will be outraged about this. The government wouldn't let that happen. So why are they letting this happen to these kids? or to like Mexicans and Filipino, Haitians, and every other nationality that they don't like. Let me tell you something. If you want to keep deporting people, if you want to try to make everybody that's living from check to check, make them more poor than what they are, how do you think they're going to be able to afford what these billionaires are selling? Because normally billionaires don't really buy a lot of stuff from billionaires. They don't. Cars, houses, luxury items, yeah, jewelry, stuff like that. But everyday essential needs, not wants, needs. You need a loaf of bread. You need meat. You need this, that, and the third. You need a t-shirt. You need drawers. You don't need gold chains. You don't need a private jet. You don't need a big fancy mansion with 22 rooms. You don't need none of that. That's stuff that you want. Keep telling y'all. There's a difference between things that people want and things that people need. Things that people need: a good education. People need a decent 9 to 5. Someplace where they can go and work, come home, relax, do it again for 5 or 4 more days out the week. And relax the 3 or 2 days that they're off. They need that. We need stuff like jobs. We need food. We need clothing. We especially need jobs at a decent wage so we can go get the things that we want. We want that PlayStation 6 that's about to come out. We want the next Xbox if they try to bring one out. We want the next Nintendo Switch 2. We want all this stuff, but you have to have a job that pays you enough so you can get the things that you want and the things that you need. Getting off track a little bit, but y'all know how I am. But I say that as a, sub A, B, and C to the paragraph to tell y'all that just blatant racism. This government is just trying to shut down, or they are shutting down all programs, all departments that will help a person like some of you that's listening or some of you that's watching to get ahead, to get to that second step. A lot of us are stuck on that first step and can't move to the second. We got so many obstacles that's preventing us from getting to that next step. This guy is supposed to be teaching equality. This guy is supposed to be teaching color blindness. This guy is supposed to walk into his classroom and say, hey, I want to enlighten every student in this class. I want every student in this class, even if it's just one, to walk away with something that they learned today. That's what I want to do. Not go in there and try to rat out these kids. And I told y'all this before. This isn't the first mass deportation in America history. I need y'all to do y'all research. Okay. You know where the term wetback came from? And I was this years old when I learned this. This wasn't taught in high school. This wasn't taught in elementary. And the damn sure wasn't taught in middle. It wasn't taught in any grade. Project Wetback was something that the government did where the kids went off to school. The government came in and took every and anybody that looked Spanish or had that looked Mexican. Even if your name had you may have been like at home eating tacos and they snatched you up. 1954, the government came in and they took a lot of people of that Mexican descent. Kids came home to parents gone. Kids came home, their parents was gone. Nobody knew what happened. And I said this earlier before I started the broadcast. I said that Trump is bringing back slavery, right? Let me just go into this a little bit. Trump is bringing back slavery, and there are some companies that are with it. I'll tell you one or two of your favorite burger joints. Two of your favorite burger joints. One you get some chili from, and the other one you get a nuggets that have nothing to do with chicken in it. You can get a 4, 6, or 20 piece. They are making these people work $1 a day for $1 a day. And these big companies are taking in these people to make them work for $1 a day. That's how the rich is getting richer. I'll explain more into another episode. I'll do that next week for y'all because I'm still doing my research. But the two fast food franchises that I'm talking about have been confirmed. They have been confirmed. So when you go in there and you see some of these employees are straight out the pen. And they're working for these big millionaire corporations that don't want to pay you minimum wage. So they figure that they get these inmates and put them in these fast food joints. That's more profit for them. More profit for them. Because you paying a worker $1 a day, you can set aside just $1 million in your budget to pay those people. And the rest is just profit. These are $1 billion companies that are doing this. And what I'm telling y'all, and I'm going to predict, as I predicted that Trump is going to run for a third term. He's going to run for a third term. This is what's going to happen, especially with you Nebraskans. What's going to happen is that low-level crime, petty crime that you would get a ticket and that you will walk away from, you won't do any time. Petty crime. Now, I'm not endorsing criminal acts. What I'm saying is that crimes that are deemed petty in the eye of the court are going to weigh more heavier now. And what they're going to do is they're going to make you make these low-level crimes into a felony. And it's going to happen to a lot of you young people. A lot of you young people are going to get jammed up in the court system, as I was jammed up in the court system. And what happens is when you go in the court system, you don't have enough money to pay for a lawyer. The public defender works for the court. They're working for the court. So you have some good public defenders and you have some sloppy public defenders, you know. What they're going to do is they're going to make you cop a plea because they don't want to fight the trial. Even if you know you're innocent, they don't want to fight the trial. They're going to make you cop a plea. And even if you get probation or jail time, they're going to tell you, hey, look, for your probation, you're going to have to do this, that, and the third. You may have to do it for free. You may get paid $1 for it. And for you black people in Nebraska, you need to be very, very careful. You Nebraskans, be very, very careful, because the farming industry is going under in less than 5 months. They have nobody to pick their crops. Everybody in Nebraska, there are like millions of jobs opening. There are millions of jobs that you can do in the farming industry. You can go out there and you can pick those crops. But let's see how many of those middle class Nebraskans go out there in them fields and pick them crops for $5 an hour. There's no way. You know what was the way? When you had the immigrants out there picking all those, all that crop for $5 an hour, and they were happy with it. They were willing to do that type of work for that type of pay, which nobody in their right mind would do. You can't live off of $5 an hour. This is not 87. This is not 1987. You can't live off of that. You can't survive when prices and rent costs and the cost of living, you want to rely on, you can't rely on, you can't rely on a low wage to OBS is mysterious. Maybe I'm back. I'm sorry, but my OBS mysteriously going in and out. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna stop the stream.